Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is brought to you by Excite Medical and the DRX 9000, Chiro HD, Softwave, Cool Blue VA, Bridge Financial, 100% Chiropractic, Chiro Health USA, ChiroScript AI, Chiro Moguls, the Chiro Speaking Company, New Patients in a Box, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, and the IFCO. You can benefit from a full list of sponsors by visiting our sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now, let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 659 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Layne Linebaugh. And if you want to hear a conversation about medical freedom and practice freedom choice, stay tuned for the full episode. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. Today I have Layne Linebaugh coming on with me, episode 659 of our show. And before we get started, I do have a quick interview addition. By making use of the information, transformation, and ideas shared on this podcast, you are agreeing to the bylaws of Layne Linebaugh, DC, Private Health Association, now and in the future. And with the introduction, I'll go into our flow of how we open up our show as our big why. Why do we do what we do? First things first, and I know this is going to hit home with Layne and her crew, is freedom of speech. I think it's integral that we keep freedom of speech alive and well in this beautiful profession of chiropractic. Over the past 4 years, I've realized how important it is to talk about medical freedom and family health freedom. They are not the same things, but if you need guidance on either one of these topics, reach out to a chiropractor in your city and get some information on how to protect you and your family with chiropractic. We get a bit more philosophical with the introduction. We talk about BJ Palmer's Sacred Trust. If you don't know what that is, go to the show notes and check it out. You're going to learn more about the Sacred Trust. You're going to learn more about chiropractic than you ever did previously. Even if you've been practicing for many, many years, go back and revisit this document because that's really the essence of why we do what we do. And we do support subluxation-based chiropractic. If you know a chiropractic student out there that needs this information, please share the show. If there's a chiropractor out there that needs information on setting up a PMA, please share the show. And if anybody needs any clarity on how to practice in this new era of chiropractic, please share the show. Closing out our introduction, we do believe in innate intelligence and universal intelligence. We believe that when man or woman, the physical gets adjusted, it connects them to man or woman, the spiritual. I know that's some woo-woo there, but it's real. And when we connect and remove subluxation and the body gets the ability to adapt with innate intelligence and universal intelligence, what is the next step is educated intelligence. And that's what I hope that people walk away from this show with today is some educated intelligence. And with that, Dr. Layne, your episode 659 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for bringing me on. I'm excited about our interview today.
Yeah. So in our pre-interview conversation, we were talking about things that really matter and things that I am like really neophyte on. I don't know a whole lot about what you know. Usually I'm very well equipped to have conversations with anybody about any topic, but I'm definitely in the shallow end of the pool with you, with what you know about PMAs. So if we could just jump right out of the gates and tell people what a PMA is, and then we'll move into medical freedom and removing interference in the First Amendment.
That sounds great. Real quick, though, I kind of want to tag along part of your intro talking about the freedom of speech and freedom, because what we're really talking about here today is freedom. Chiropractic adjustment at its foundation is removing interference. And that's what we do when we We return to our roots as a country and learn about civics, and we learn about our Constitution so that we can remove interference in our private affairs by taking those private affairs into the private domain. So with that, what is a properly formed PMA? A PMA, it's really just simply a form of a private association. So association in itself, that word is people getting together. And these are mostly known as like private health association. That's the one that we'll talk about the most here. But there's private education associations. You can think of private golf clubs. You can think of private athletic clubs. So we've got fraternal clubs, private member associations, private ministerial associations, and all of these in the realm that we're going to speak of today are unincorporated. And we'll talk a little more about that later, but we're not trotting off to the powers that think they are and asking for permission to become a corporation. Okay? Lots of different things apply there than in the private. So PMA, private member association. This is men and women getting together, and they're agreeing and they're asserting and they're standing upon their rights to determine what devices, products, services, practitioners, and what services will be utilized by them. These men and women collectively assert and stand upon their right to provide, share, lawful, legal services, procedures, advice, counsel, tips, and any other information or services that may be deemed beneficial to the association, to the members of the association, and freely share and discuss and obtain, exchange, view, and use that information and services by the members of the association, and this is really important, as a private contractual matter. So there is a contract to belong to the said association. And that is then without the information being censored through regulation or restriction upon those rights. So it's like a family, right? You and I, you come over to my house or my chiropractic office, which does happen to be in my house. But I'm the creator of the private health association, this private ministry. Okay. So I'm the head of the family. And now you're a member because you've agreed to be a member. You're like, oh, I want what she has. Okay. I want those services. I want her as my practitioner. And so then we come in and we're like a close family. And what is communicated in that family or happens inside that private home amongst those family members are private matters. And they're generally immune from and not subject to censorship or control by the administrative agency or government. Kind of cool.
I think that really gives people a good path to go with us for the rest of the interview today. And I guess my next curiosity is, why should chiropractors do this?
Better question is, why shouldn't they? So I think a couple of great examples. I like to speak in examples, right? It brings things really real. It's more story. So if we can all think back to when our freedom of speech began to be encroached upon within our private practices, supposedly private practice, right? Now we're told that we can't say that chiropractic stimulates the immune system, or that a certain supplement helps somebody sleep better. Okay, or that adjustment, we're certainly told we can't say anything about treatment or cure or diagnosis, although we're taught that in school. So if we think back to that and say, well, why? I can remember thinking that. I'm like, why can't I talk freely with my patients then? I would call them members now. Okay. And then 2020 brought us a great big example where they said, you have to have people wear something over their face, even to come in the door, if they were allowed to come in the door at all, if we were allowed to associate and assemble at all. So each time each time something like this happens, more freedom is taken away. And if freedom of speech and the right to get together and assemble and the right to adjust the spine is important to you, then it's probably a good idea at this point to look a little further down the road and see the writing on the wall and say, well, we do have rights and liberties and freedoms in this country. And a private association, that contractual agreement, is a way to do so. I hope I answered that well.
Yeah, you did. And it takes me to the next line of communication with you is, so if a chiropractor said, I'm all in, I'm tired of the way that they controlled me during the 2020 year, and I saw the fallout and aftermath of what happened to people because of these mandates and the tyrannical approach to shutting people down and telling people to stay away from each other, and that all these things were like, to make people afraid of going into offices and working with practitioners. It seems like you were already in this model and understood what it took to be a practitioner and have autonomy of your practice without somebody saying, hey, you can't practice that way, or you got to shut down, or any of these things. I think there's a huge spectrum of what we saw happening. Mm-hmm. And they did try to make examples of some people. They started, agendas against private practice and saying, look, people have made reports on you. Like, right. There was a girl I was dating at the time that, like, chiropractors in her community were making reports on her for having people come in and get services without masks on. And it's like, I was like appalled that like the chiropractic people would do this to each other. Mm-hmm. So, there's trouble on all fronts when it comes to things starting to happen and people like not getting happy because they can't work and they see somebody else doing it. And it's very playground style. So, what, if anything, is a concern for a practitioner if they decide to do a PMA style practice?
This is kind of a big deal in that one of the biggest responsibilities that we have when we do something like this is to realize the level of indoctrination that we've all experienced and have been faced with, and that you will have to unhook yourself from like, oh, wait, it took me 3 months after I established my PMA to realize that I didn't need a license. I didn't need a chiropractic license anymore because I was so conditioned to you have to have it. So even after reading my founding documents and having conversations with my fellow advisors, I'm a certified senior private association advisor, having these conversations with the mentor, it still took me 3 months before I said, oh, and by having that license, I'm beholden to the Chiropractic Board of Nevada and their rules and laws and regulations. So that's number one, is really realizing what has been done to us by taking civics out of our education system. And then number two is, if you decide to go this route, realize that you are a warrior. You may have a challenge. And so you don't take your founding documents, your charter, your bylaws, your articles of associations, and stick them in a drawer and never read them. It's not like the LLC paperwork that I don't know if anybody reads. I suppose some. But so it's really the responsibility to continue to learn and to study and bring civics back into your own life, bring the Constitution back into your own life, and be able to know what to do should you be challenged. Typically, if there's a challenge, it's a paper challenge. There haven't been that many knocks at the door. But those are the two biggies, is the responsibility to learn what you're doing.
So if I listened correctly, when somebody opens up a PMA style practice, they're no longer a licensed chiropractor.
We've had this conversation. We always want people to make the choice that's best for them. If you decide to keep your license, then realize that you are still contracted with the chiropractic board of your state. Okay. And in Nevada, like the massage board, they were worse for the massage board during 2020, or the massage therapists. It was bad for them. And that is how they actually told people what to do. Do we still have constitutional rights and freedoms without a PMA? Yes. This makes it much stronger to be able to say, no, you're not doing that. Sorry, sidetracked there.
So let me just I guess from once again, me not being the expert on the subject.
Yeah.
Just say that I am a chiropractor. I've been out of school for 3 years and I run a chiropractic office, but I want to come and do a PMA style practice. Mm-hmm. Does that mean that my education that I went and got and the license that I hold as a chiropractor changes somehow?
No, your education would never change. Okay. It's a matter of finding out. In my state, I just called up. I said, hey, I'm not going to renew my license because I just said, at this point in the game, I don't really want to wave a big old red flag over what I'm doing. I'm not going to renew. Is there something that you would like me to do? They said, no, we just want to know where people can go to get their records should they need them. Great. Okay, so that's Nevada. So whatever state you're in, call up and find out, do you need to write a letter? Do you need to make a formal statement? I'm not going to renew, or I'm surrendering my license. Some people, though, may decide that they want to say, for example, take x-rays, and they're going to absolutely need that license to be able to do the x-ray tech. I think they have to have that x-ray tech license. It's been a while for me on that. So they may take x-rays under that license only. And then it's like when a lawyer gives advice and his attorney sets aside his bar association. It's like that. So the chiropractor then goes over and all treatment is done setting aside that license. It's a little gray, but if that's what this person determined was best for them, then that would be a way to do it. But all of that said, the best way is to say, I'm not contracting with the government. I'm not contracting with the chiropractic board of whatever state, and I'm not contracting with the city, the state, the local governments.
So this opens up the next two, I guess, groups of people that I'm really curious about, one being the animal chiropractors and one being foreign chiropractors. How does somebody come and practice in the U.S. with, say, a degree from Brazil or Spain or Mexico? How does somebody say, I come from this foreign country as a chiropractic degree, and I want to practice in America? Can somebody come and set up as a PMA and practice as a chiropractor in that model?
Generally, the answer is yes, unless there's evidence of any substantive evil. So if you had asked me if they could do a gardening association, generally the answer is yes. Okay. So if the foreign, let's address that first, because I've talked to people that have said, hey, the United States Chiropractic, the national board said I had to come and retake all of school. Have to retake all chiropractic school or a portion of it. I've already done everything in Brazil, right? So now this person needs to be a citizen, and then they could establish a private association because their members, again, now we're back to what their members want and who they want as their practitioner and the services and products that they provide.
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is brought to you by Excite Medical and the DRX 9000, Chiro HD, Softwave, Cool Blue VA, Bridge Financial, 100% Chiropractic, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Script AI, Chiro Moguls, The Chiro Speaking Company, New Patients in a Box, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, and the IFCO. You can benefit from a full list of sponsors by visiting our sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now, let's hustle. So then we switch this conversation over to animal chiropractor.
Yeah.
How does this PMA apply to people that want to take care of animals and not have to get referrals from veterinarians and play that whole pass back approval?
Right. Again, yes, as long as there's no substantive evil, clear and present danger, there's nothing, no robbery, rape, murder going on in these associations. So because the people that are the owners of the animal, whether it's a dog, it's a horse, it's a cow, it's a goat, farm animals, as long as they are agreeing, they are a member of that association. There's been an intake done. They've agreed, this is who I want. Then yes, they can have a private association. I've helped several chiropractors and human and animal chiropractors set up their associations. Yeah.
The trail of questions is like a lot for me because I don't know a whole lot about what this means for a practitioner, but I know that all chiropractors have to have malpractice insurance.
Mm-hmm.
How does malpractice insurance line up if you decide to be a PMA?
Well, this is the question because this is obviously a question I get from a lot of chiropractors is, do you hurt anybody? Typically the answer is no. Okay. Well, then sit with that for a little bit. It's not something I ever had to face in Nevada. Nevada chiropractors don't have to have malpractice insurance. So again, back to what do you feel comfortable with, and where do you have peace in your heart about it? I always tell people, you should pray about it. And is that something you want to continue forward with? Liability insurance, we definitely say, hey, keep your liability insurance, because that is a way to protect yourself if somebody hurt themselves just coming up to the door. But malpractice insurance, again, it's one of those things that's kind of a cabal. Insurance is is a money-making machine. And when we don't hurt somebody, I can see where there's that little bit of anxiety around it, but classically chiropractors don't hurt people.
Yeah, and these are just questions that have to be, discussed, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that people would generally like to say, gosh, I don't want to practice in that type of a model where, I have to abide by these organizations that don't put my interest first, or that don't put the care of my patient's interest first.
Yep.
It's become a huge issue, I believe, within private practice for people to not know how to run a business.
Right.
And I really believe that when people don't know how to run a business, they're going to do what everybody else does. They're going to say, well, what do my mentors do?
Yep.
How have people been doing chiropractic business for, the past 60 years?
Right.
Well, I think what we're talking about is very fundamentally different. And I even think that most of the questions I ask you today are going to stir up more conversations and questions for people that will be listening to this episode, and their curiosity is going to probably be like tenfold. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just touching like a few basic topics that I'm not a practitioner, but I'm very curious to know, like, how do people like transition into this model?
Mm-hmm.
What are the drawbacks of doing it? What are the concerns if somebody says, hey, I'm going to go do this now? How do I hold my license as a DC, and does that matter? And I think that that's probably the most exposed part of the conversation for me is like, if I have a license and I'm a practitioner, well, why would I ever want to not renew my license? Because that's what I believe my education upholds is my license. And I think what I'm gathering from you is you're a chiropractor, whether you have a license or not, because of your education and your degree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that diploma that cost me over 200 grand is evidence that I took that entire education. How is that not enough? Right? Passing national boards, how is that not enough? But again, we go back to the system that said, oh, but now you need to go to get a license to practice here, even though you're not doing a crime, even though you made it out of school, even though you passed all those tests. So we have to start questioning that sort of thing. Oh, if I want to practice in 2 states, now I have to be licensed in that one too, and 3 and 4. Real quick on the insurance thing, I did want to bring up that within your private association, you do have a tribunal, and people agree to this, that if there's a grievance or if there's something they're unhappy with, something happens, that it is handled internally within the association tribunal, aka court.
I guess that opens up a bigger question to me then when it comes to boards and CCE and the state associations. Have you had anybody start to question the private membership association because you stand alone and you're like, I don't want to participate with the state association under those regulations, and I don't want to participate with the CCE under their regulations, and by the way, I'm not going to renew my license, but I'm still a chiropractor?
No, I haven't run into anything. Now, there's actually a doctor in your state who during 2020 or 2021, he said, no, I'm done. I'm moving over to this model. And he was challenged and he fought back, and he is happily practicing in his PMA. He had some good advice. Some of our mentors helped him, and advisors helped him. And state of Colorado tried to say that they own the word chiropractor. Since you can't own the word. You don't own a word. And he said, it's out of your jurisdiction. That's one of the biggest things, because we didn't contract with the state by getting an LLC. We didn't contract now. We said, okay, I'm done. I'm surrendering my license. So I'm no longer contracted with the Chiropractic Board of Colorado or Nevada, wherever you are. And my members have all agreed that this is where they want to be. Okay, so it's completely out of their jurisdiction. We put no trespassing and members only signs, so that we are giving notice that this is how we want to do our private affairs in the private domain.
But don't you think it scares the heck out of a practitioner to surrender their license and to say, I'm not going to be a part of what I think I'm supposed to be a part of because I've been told that that's what I need?
Yeah. And there's certain people I talk to that I say, either you need to go get a lot more education about this so that you are comfortable, or this is probably not for you. And that's okay. That is completely okay. But I haven't talked to that many, just one who actually happened to be my, I apprenticed at their office in Oakland after chiropractic college. She says, I just can't do it. I can't turn up my license. I worked so hard for that. Okay.
So under a PMA model, how does health insurance work?
Oh, great question. Yeah, there is no billing of insurance by the doctor themselves. They can do the cash model with a super bill, and then the patient or the member can submit that super bill. They pay cash and submit that super bill to their insurance. Okay, so that's how to handle that.
And what happens when PMA becomes the largest trend and people start saying, I don't want to be affiliated with these other groups and I'm going to go this path. Like, how does that look for a movement of right now? You're saying that there's really been no red flags or pushback, but what happens is, say, like 10% of the chiropractors in Colorado watch this and they're like, I want this model. I'm done doing this other way.
Right.
How, and it looks like Scott Little's mentioning too that students could avoid doing the national boards if they come right out and they want to be a PMA practice.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's true. So let's just for a minute say, look at our First Amendment.
Sure.
Okay. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Chiropractic can arguably be considered a firmly held spiritual belief system. Okay. The power that made the body heals the body, universal intelligence, innate intelligence. Personally, I believe that those things are God, and it is God that helps us heal the body. Or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble. There we are. There's our people in our practice. And to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Okay. So that First Amendment is a big deal in what we're doing.
And say somebody's like, let's get this going. What does it look like from A through Z from somebody that's 2 years in practice and they're like, I'm done playing this game with being told how I have to practice and what I can do? Like, how does it look for somebody to onboard, to start, and then actually get themselves incorporated as a PMA?
I think we're going to do links in the show notes, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so we'll do a lot of links there. I have a YouTube and a Rumble channel. There's PMA Power, who is my mentor. There's books that we recommend that you read. So you go and you educate yourself. And then there's a free consultation process with me or one of the other advisors. And we kind of assess, hey, are you ready for this? And throughout that consultation, then it's, what are you going to do? How are you thinking about this? How educated are you? Tell me how it works. Okay. Tell me how you think it works after all this education that you've done. All right. Maybe I'm going to send you some more information that I don't put out there in the public because it's private. And then we walk them through that process. It's 2 to 3 weeks from start to finish, mostly depending upon the member now, not me, because there's an edits, changes, and questions to those founding documents time. But really, it's 2 to 3 weeks from start to finish once somebody says, okay, I'm ready, right? I wanted to address something that you had said before about the person coming out of school or in 2 years in practice and that wants to give up their license, but I'm not recalling. I suppose it'll come back. So anyway.
Yeah. And I think it gets me to the point in our conversation today, like what's the buy-in if somebody's like, I want to be a PMA. Once again, I don't know anything about this. This is like all new information to me. So maybe one day I'll be speaking from a lot more of influence on the topics. But for today, I'm just a neophyte and I'm just learning.
Right.
And you said it takes about 3 weeks to transition into this type of a model from the initiation to, completion of becoming a private membership association. What does it cost to do that? And I guess if somebody wanted to do that, where do we send them to start up?
Yeah, there'll be links in the show notes for sure. And my YouTube and Rumble channel is called Health Freedom with Dr. Layne. So those links will be there as well. And then I have a website, and it's my full name, LayneLinebaugh.com for that. And I did want to address that there's been thousands of PMAs formed across the country prior to 2020 and thousands more after 2020. It was this kind of hidden little thing that people were doing, very quiet, because there wasn't a big uproar like what happened in 2020 when everybody started learning about, oh, wow, how do I protect myself from government overreach? For telling me I have to lose my income. And then it blew up. And you had asked, I remember now, you had asked, what happens when this becomes a movement? Well, it's on the verge of becoming a movement. And we really need more people that are educated and they're willing to fight but not be afraid, because it is our God-given right that we remain private and that we have these freedoms, especially in this country. So there might be a little bit of anxiety, but I don't know about you, but I think chiropractic's a pretty bold move in itself. Because we've had to fight against the powers that think they are, that said we were quacks, and said that there's no validity to what we're doing, when we absolutely, most of us get into it because we had some sort of really amazing result from seeing a chiropractor. So that's what I'm supposed to go do, bring my gifts and talents and gifts from God to the public, or to our members in the private. But when we can't do that because we're being pushed upon and said we can't say things and we can't meet with our people, and then we're going to shut you down, I think it's right in alignment. It's removing interference.
Yeah, and I don't think any chiropractor ever understood how much it would take as an effort to keep their doors open, just under the normal practices. Before the past 4 years, kind of lambasted everybody with all the fear. And I believe that so many times people need some assistance on knowing what to do and how to do it. And that's really one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on for, was to at least start the conversation for people,
right,
to where they can start to see somebody that's speaking a different type of practice model to them. And they can start taking their own initiatives, if it's right for them, to move into this direction, to have freedom of practice and to create the relationship within their practice style for the way that they want to take care of people. Mm-hmm. So I think it's important for people to hear a voice that has done it different and that has resources and available if somebody wants to do this type of a model. So I would just urge everybody to go to Layne Linebaugh.com. It's LayneLinebaugh.com, and reach out to her. Find out about how this can make a positive impact on your practice, and take it from an individual basis, so we don't have to talk as a full arc of like what this entails for a profession, but find out what it means to you individually. And I think that that's the best advice I can give to anybody after interviewing you today, is take an individual basis on this type of approach if it makes sense to you and it feels like it's the right move for you. And that's where you are in your career, and that's where you are on your trajectory as a practitioner, then do it. If you have trepidation and fear and don't think that this might be the right thing for you because you want to stay in the other model, then do that. But I think that this gives people at least the leverage to know that there are resources out there if they're fed up with the model that they've been practicing in and they're not getting the value exchange or the flexibility to be a practitioner in today's era. So I think that today was a very big opener for me, just because I got to ask a lot of questions that I typically don't ask. And there's a lot of curiosity that I still have about how people can plug into your system. So once again, it's LayneLinebaugh.com. It's LayneLinebaugh.com. reach out to her, check it out, see if it's the right fit for you. Dr. Layne, thanks for being on with me today. Your episode 659 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you'd like to close us out with today?
Well, you asked me some different questions than most chiropractors do. I wanted to give some people some resources for their own research, and there's a book called Legal Guidelines for the Unlicensed Practitioner. Legal Guidelines for the Unlicensed Practitioner by Lawrence Wilson. That's a great little book. I think we know more of the constitutional background than Lawrence does, but it's a really good resource. And then David Barton's books. He's one of America's premier historians, and he has the Original Intent, which is the Courts, the Constitution, and Religion book, which everybody should read because it's a whole mind blower when we speak about the indoctrination. And then also Separation of Church and State, what the founders meant. So what they really meant. So those are some good resources as you start opening up and learning about what your liberties and freedoms truly are.
Well, I think it's really cool that people can learn how to run a constitutional based practice. And I think it's really cool that people can start to see how they can have the life of their dreams within the profession that they wanted it to be, and to feel that they have more opportunities to take care of more people with their scope and their influence of practice style. And I think that it gives people a chance to understand that freedom is a choice.
Yeah.
And the more that you understand choice, the better you can prepare yourself for the practice that you want to have in your community. So, Dr. Layne, thank you for being on with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I think it's how chiropractic was always meant to be. God bless you. Thank you.
God bless you too. And just like I always close out my episodes, you guys are just one story away. Keep hustling and check out Dr. Layne at her website. Thank you so much, everybody. See you next time. Bye for now. Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.